Alright, hey guys, welcome to this session by Great Learning. My name is Anirudh Rao and I welcome you all for this session on how you guys should learn Python in a step-by-step manner, right? Now, Python is a fantastic programming language. It is considered as the #1 programming language in today's world, and there is so much to learn in Python, right? So I hope all of you all are very much excited to be a part of this live session, right? Well, thank you so much for tuning in, guys, from wherever you guys are tuning in from. Welcome to the live session. If you guys can hear me fine, and if you guys can see me fine, and of course if everything is fine on your end, can you just take a second to head to the comment section and just type in a quick yes or a no so that I have a confirmation that everything is fine for you guys and we can begin, right? So just quickly give me a confirmation and we can begin. Now, ladies and gentlemen, an important thing here is that I want to keep this session to ensure that, even all of you all who are completely beginners into the world of Python, and some of you all who have already started learning Python and you guys are intermediate users, right? So this video is meant for a wide spectrum of people. Even if you're a person who has not used Python before, don't worry. This will be the perfect session for you to help you get started, right? So have a pen, have a notepad or something like that so you can take down the important points that I'm going to talk to you about, right? Now, while you guys gave me a confirmation, I got a lot of confirmations, right? Loha, Priya, Siva, Seema, Bobby, Gurudev, thank you so much. Now, I'm able to see all of your comments in real time, as in when you guys put it, because I'm monitoring everything in my mobile phone, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, let's keep this session highly interactive. Let's keep this session very, very interesting, right? So, high energy, let's get started. Now, before I discuss the agenda for this particular session, let me take a minute of your time to guide you about this wonderful venture we have here at Great Learning called as Great Learning Academy. Now, guys, I am confident that most of you all, if not all of you all, might know what Great Learning Academy is, right? So, can you guys quickly head to the comment section and tell me if you guys have checked out Great Learning Academy and if you have finished courses here, right? So, well, Great Learning Academy, in fact, for the people who do not know, is a fantastic place where we offer 300 plus courses for you guys to learn for free. Right? It's not just the courses, it's about having a career path where, we provide the Great Learning career path for all of you all, where, you guys can go on to choose what is your favorite domain, what is your goal, and how you want to get there, right? As I've always been saying, and as all the other subject matter experts here at Great Learning advocate too as well, you need a structured path to learn something, right? That is exactly what we are offering. Again, all of this is free of cost, right? Now that we're looking into Python, well, Python in itself, right, is a programming language that is used by multiple courses. So let me just click on search here and let me type in Python to see the courses that we have in Python for all of you all, right? Look at that. We have many courses here, right? In fact, we use 66 more. So you can see that we have a ton of these courses, and in fact, let me just click on one of these, right? So Python Fundamentals for Beginners. This is definitely a course that all of you all should take a look at, right? Because 40,000 people have taken part in this. They have understood everything there is to know about the introduction to Python and how you get to work with it hands-on as well. All the courses that you guys see on Great Learning Academy is completely free of cost. So you can enroll for free, learn for free, get started. And in fact, the biggest advantage is that you can get a certificate of completion absolutely free of cost. And the certificate looks like this, right? Adding this onto your resume, adding this onto your LinkedIn profile, and just having it as a document is going to showcase to the world that you guys have put in a good amount of effort and a good amount of time into learning Python, right? So this is how you get a competitive advantage in the interviews. This is one of the things that will help you, of course. Now, coming to Great Learning Academy in general, there are so many things here, guys. Everything here is planned in a perfect way to make sure that you guys have access to all of these courses. In fact, even the career paths, you can take a look at all the upcoming live sessions that we have, and of course, you can tune in via multiple channels, right? All of you all right now are tuned in via our YouTube channel. You can tune into Great Learning Academy by simply heading into greatlearning.in/academy, or if you guys love tuning in on your mobile phone, we have the Great Learning app available both on the Apple's ecosystem as well as the Android Play Store. Right, guys? Fantastic. Now, before we actually go on to begin, can you guys quickly tell me how many of you all are joining from your mobile phones, from your smart TVs, and all of these other gadgets apart from laptops and computers? I am just just curious to find out how many viewers we have who are using a mobile platform, right? Okay, now while you guys go on to answer that particular question, fantastic, right? So we have many people tuning in. What we can do right now is to make sure we can take a look at the agenda of this session, right? Well, this particular session is going to be somewhere around 60 minutes in duration, right? It's going to be a 1 hour session where we're trying to understand how you guys can actually get started with Python. So here is everything that I've planned to make sure you guys understand Python in a structured manner. First of all, we're going to take a look at why you guys should even consider learning Python, right? I mean, there are so many programming languages in today's world. Why should you always think about Python, or why should you, even concentrate on this? We'll check that out. The second thing is, now, once we're done with the first point, you'll be convinced enough to say, hey, okay, I want to do Python, but what are some of the skills that I need to get started with, right? So we're going to check out all of that as well. We're going to have a step-by-step guide for all of y'all, right from step number 1 to the end, where you guys can work on becoming experts in Python. Of course, after that, we're going to take a look at the various libraries we have in Python. We have some fantastic libraries, right? And of course, we're also going to take a look at the Python developers salary as well. So make sure you guys are sticking till the end of the video, because at the end of it, I'm also going to guide you guys on how you can work on specializations and how you guys can go from complete beginners to thorough experts in Python. Right? Fantastic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing before we go ahead with the first item on the agenda, do take a second to subscribe to the Great Learning YouTube channel and hit that bell icon, because we are putting out all of these high quality content for all of you all to learn, right? So by subscribing, you definitely will support the channel, as well as ensure that there is more reachability for the people around you as well, right? So knowledge is meant to be shared. Do take a second to hit that subscribe button. It'll mean a lot to us. And of course, if you did take a second to like the video as well, well, I will definitely make my day. All right, fantastic. Well, guys, first of all, let's start with a quick did you know, right? Now, with respect to Python, the most fascinating thing that you might have heard about Python is that it is considered as the world's #1 programming language today, or the world's most popular programming language today, right? Now, can any one of you in the comment section, let's see who gets this first, right? So can you guys quickly head to Google and let me know in which year, on which date. In fact, if you just sorry about that. If you just tell me the year, it's fine. In which year was Python first made popular, or first became public, right? On which year it was announced? In which year did Python go live or go public? Can you guys quickly tell me that, right? Now, while you guys go on to do that, I want to talk to you about something which is very common about Python, the name itself. How did Python get the name? First of all, the person who created Python, his name is Guido van Rossum. He's a wonderful programmer who actually loved watching TV shows, right? I'll tell you an interesting story. So there was this TV show called as Monty's Flying Python Circus, right? Monty's Python Flying Circus, basically. It is actually a very nice, a very old TV show, and Guido van Rossum actually loved it so much that he wanted to give a tribute to it. Hence, he named the particular programming language as Python. Right now, it is very important for you to understand that it is very different from the snake, which is Python, or Python as it's also called. Right, so that's an important thing you guys have to talk about. Guys, give me 1 second. Let me get a gulp of water, and we can get started. Right? Okay, fantastic. Let me just get a gulp of water and we can go. Alright, now since we're talking about the TV show, since we're talking about the TV system and the Python as well, have you guys ever watched TV shows on Netflix or Amazon Prime, or even did you guys catch the Friends reunion that happened yesterday on Z5? All of these platforms, right, they are streaming platforms. What they do is they ensure that at the end of the day, they use a lot of Python, even though you might not know it. So whenever you're watching your favorite TV shows on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or anywhere, understand that in the background, right, there is hundreds of thousands of lines of code that is actually running. If you guys have tuned in from a Firefox browser, it uses somewhere around 2.5 lakh lines of code written in Python, right? I mean, Python is it is written in Python because it gives functionality to the browser itself, right? So that's something you really have to understand. The next thing is that it's very common, right? Python is very popular in the domain of data science. Now, why is that? Well, if you're talking about data science and Python, data science is such a complex domain, right? It is super huge and complex. But Python is a programming language that just simplifies everything and brings it all together in a very nice packaged fashion. That's the reason why Python is popular. And of course, you should know this about Python, ladies and gentlemen. It is used by thousands and thousands of companies around the globe today. Not only that, if it is used by thousands and thousands of companies, it means that the salary trends for a Python developer is fantastic. There is always hiring for a Python developer. The salaries are super competitive, and at the end of the day, if you have the right skills, you can have a fantastic first job in Python, right? Okay. Now that we've established some things about Python, the fundamental aspects of it, we should talk about why you guys even should consider learning Python, right? Well, I'm sure you have this question. The first point to answer your particular question starts out with the trend, right? What is the general population? What are the people, learners around you, developers around you, researchers around you, scholars around you doing? Well, everyone wants to jump in on the Python trend where it has become so popular that Python is one of the world's most fastest growing programming language, in a way where, be it on Google, be it on Yahoo, be it on Bing or any other search engine, Python happens to be the most searched programming language in today's world, right? That means that everyone who is searching for a programming language, right, the majority of the world, they are starting out or they're searching out for Python, right? That is a very important thing that you guys should know. It is showing so much growth and fantastic trends. In fact, on your screen right now, please don't mind the small fonts, right? That was the screenshot that was taken from Google Analytics. Now, when we take a look at this, you can see that until 2014 there was an okayish interest, right? There was a plateaued interest in Python. There is no growth here. But then from 14 all the way to 2019, 20 and 21, you can see that it is a steep graph that is just climbing on a 60-degree angle, right? How fantastic is this? This does not happen to a lot of programming language apart from the ones which just became super viral because of the fact that they are extremely helpful and they work really well, right? Think about JavaScript, right? Think about React.js. Think about all of these flavors of JavaScripts which came into the picture, right? As soon as they came, they took over the market and they became the most popular tool. Similarly, Python did that for the world of programming, right? Now, to give you one more fantastic reason, take a look at all the domains that I have mentioned here on the screen for all of you all. Everything from web development to big data to game development, user interface development, and even the world of data science, right? This is where Python is used literally in all of these domains in any way it's fit possible. If you take a look at web development, we have libraries such as Flask, Django, and a lot more in Python that will help with web development. And then with respect to big data, we have multiple support systems which are made so that you have other big data tools, right? Think about everything from the offerings of Apache, right? You might have heard Apache open source. So these guys are providing multiple open source tools where that can talk to Python, and you can have a huge impact with respect to analysis, data engineering side as well. And then game development. We all love our games, right? I mean, I absolutely love playing a game or two, probably over the weekend, and I definitely find it fun. Most games are, of course, they have their own proprietary programming languages to work on, but then Python is slowly catching up, where now the other game developers are very concerned about Python's growth, right? Concerned in a way where, they will have to make a shift to Python now or in the near future. That is how powerful and efficient Python is. And then, of course, if you take a look at user interface development, having a good user interface makes such a difference, right? For example, right now, right, you're getting a fantastic user experience. That is what UX stands for. User experience is when you feel happy, when you feel like you feel good, you feel like using the product. For example, for all of you all who've tuned in, you definitely will feel like staying till the end of the session to take away the maximum amount of learning, right? That's a good user experience for all of you all. And I aim aim to ensure that you guys have the best user experience whenever you tune in to these sessions we have here at Great Learning, right? And then data science, guys. Data science, I don't think I really need to talk about at the moment, because if you think about data science, and if you ever ask a question saying, hey, what programming language is popular for data science, the only answer that I would love to give all the time is Python. But then of course, alongside Python, you have multiple programming languages like R programming, we have SAS, we have SQL, which is very much important in data science. We have Scala. We have multiple programming languages there. But the first thing whenever someone tries to get into data science or learn is the programming language Python. Fantastic. The next couple of reasons of why you guys definitely should take a look at Python is 4 points. Right? I have 8 points to discuss, but first of all, let's discuss point number 1. It says interpreted programming language. Now, have you guys worked on programming languages in your school or in your college like C, C++, or Java? Can you guys head to the comment section and let me know if you guys have worked previously on these programming languages? Because let me tell you why. If you worked on languages such as C and C++, these are compiler based programming languages where you have to compile the entire program at a time and only then run it if it does not have errors. With respect to interpreted programming language like Python, what happens here is that every line of code that you write, right, it will go on to execute it one by one. It will not execute it all together. It will do it one by one in an order. So even if you have 100 lines of code and where there is one mistake, if it was a programming language like C or C++, it will say, hey, fix the error or I will not work. Right? Python is very nice to you. Python will not say anything like that. Python will be like, hey, if there is an error on line number 66, I am going to work completely fine until line number 65. You please fix line number 66, and then from 66 to 100, we will also work. That is Python's power, right? So especially if you're a learner who wants to understand that, hey, this is the start of my Python learning, but maybe 1 year or 2 years from now, I'm going to be a thorough expert in Python. That is when you guys will have to look for tips and tricks like this in your head to make sure that you guys are knowing why in fact Python is so effective at the domain you're working in, right? And then of course Python is a very easy to learn programming language, as I'll be guiding you in a moment, and of course it's built for dynamism. Now when I say dynamism, it's literally the example that I gave you. Today you're working on a very small project, right? A very simple project. Tomorrow you might have to work on a really big project. But then the advantage with Python is that the syntax remains the same. The syntax remains really simple. It is almost like talking to someone in English, right? If you have ever written programs in C++ or something like C# previously, you will understand that Python provides the best programming language syntax out there in the world, at least for me, right? So that's really important. And of course the last point speaks for itself. Python is an open source programming language, as in you really don't have to pay anyone to use Python. It is open source, it is free, it gets contributions from developers around the world, right? The next couple of reasons that we need to take a look at, these are the last sets of reasons of why you guys have to consider Python, so please pay attention. First of all, it has a huge library, right? Now, when I say a library, what I'm talking about is all the functions that Python has, all the frameworks, all the other tools that Python brings along with it to help you solve a problem faster, right? Here is where there is no overtaking Python in terms of convenience. Because if I have to give you an example, let's just say libraries such as NumPy or Pandas, right? They are fantastic libraries. Don't worry if you don't know them. I'm going to be discussing about them. So let's just say we don't have these libraries anymore. That will complicate your data science solution to such a degree where there is a good chance beginners will find it extremely difficult if it were not for those libraries. But then thank God we have those libraries. Or in fact, thank the developers who went on to put this, right? Because they are the people who made sure that this is possible. And now it's very simple to work with all of these data science concepts too, right? That's what it's a huge community. It offers very good, easy to read syntaxes, so where if you guys know the English language, you guys can confidently sit and learn the Python programming language, right? So it's all these important points are some of the reasons of why you guys should consider Python, guys. Now, a lot of you all are headed to the comment section and you guys are telling me that you guys have worked on C, C++, and Java as well, right? Chaitra says, yes, C++, Java use compiler. You are absolutely correct, Chaitra. And then Stay Happy says, how many times to learn Python? Well, stay happy. Python, again, as I told you, it's a huge programming language and you definitely need to spend some time to master the language, right? Okay. Fantastic, guys. The next thing that we're going to take a look at are some of the skills that you guys should need whenever you are thinking about learning Python. Now, these are the skills which is not just limited to Python. You can take it onto another programming language if that helps you as well. But understand that these are my train of thought. That these are some things that you cannot be taught, right? I cannot say, hey, everybody open your books and start thinking about how to provide out of the box thinking. No, that's not possible. These are some things that you guys have to inculcate by yourself. The first thing says data-oriented approach. See, Python makes data handling a very easy task. You might have the biggest of the biggest files, dataset files or anything like that. And as soon as you bring it to Python, it's Python's headache to take care of all of these things. So literally it doesn't come to you or your syntax to either easily handle it or difficult handling there as well, right? That's important. The second thing is out of the box thinking. This is very, very important, especially as a Python developer, because first of all, let's just say there is a ton of competition. If there is a problem and if there are 100 people who are trying to solve the problem, majority of the people might get the solution to the problem, but then there might be one or two people there who have a solution which is very different from everyone else, which happens to be either extremely efficient, really good, or it's put out in a way where people would not even think about it. They'll be like, oh, can I do that as well? Right? So that kind of a thinking is super important, because when you go to an interview in Python, they'll ask you things like, hey, can you please give me an answer to this particular code or something like that? And when you do provide an answer, they're going to ask you a question saying, is this the only way that you can do this? There, if you say yes to that particular question, there's a good chance that they might think that you might not know other ways to work with, right? But then if you have another way of solving problem, you can just put it down there, and that to an interviewer is extremely impressive. Solving a problem more than one way. This is the biggest tip that I can give for all of you all today, right? And then of course, logic building skills. Now you guys head to the comment sections and you tell me, if you are learning Python programming and if you're trying to solve a problem, your friend came out with a startup idea, now you have a startup idea, you're trying to do something and you're trying to write Python code, which do you think is more important? Writing Python code or thinking about and finding a logic to solve the problem, right? So again, I'm going to repeat the question. Which do you think is more important when you're learning and when you're trying to solve a problem? Is it syntax or is it logic? Because I know, I'm confident that all of you all will head to the comment section right now and tell me that it is logic building skills, right? Because logic building is again something that you have to practice, and it's a skill that you get on your own. I cannot teach you how to build logic, right? I can give you the logic, or I can give you an approach that will take you to the logic, but then to build this on your own, you guys need some practice working on it hands-on, right? Whenever you guys are learning Python, never, just read it like a theory book and move on. No, whenever you're taking even a very simple example, print hello world, right? Like the most simple thing in Python, make sure that you guys are actually writing Python code and practicing. Because if you do this from day one, I know it sounds boring, I know it sounds that it's a lot of work to do, but if you guys do this, trust me, by the end of the effort, right, compared to a person who has never touched practicals until maybe a couple of months for learning, you will be so much ahead. You will be definitely on another level if you have had the practical practice as well, right, guys? Now let me quickly open up the next slide, right? So we are going to be getting started with Python. Now I'm going to be giving you all the steps that are out there, right from the first step to the last one, to make sure you guys learn, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've come until this point of the video, I am very confident that you guys are excited to learn about the Python programming language, right? So guys, do take a second to hit that like button, and please do subscribe to the Great Learning YouTube channel if you love seeing more content such as this, right? Okay, fantastic. Now let's talk about step number 1, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about learning the fundamentals. When I say fundamentals, what do I mean? I am not talking about, hey guys, please start learning about int, float, please start learning about how to go on to print statement, how to input, how to output. No, we can keep that away for a bit right now, because what I'm talking about in step number one here is for you guys to understand how the language works. Right now in the comment section, you guys have gone on to tell me that logic is more important, and we guys have already seen in a way where now you know what a compiler language like C or C++ is, or an interpreted programming language like Python, right? So those are the things that you need to know, that Python is an interpreted programming language. You have to understand that there's lots of libraries. If you ever have a problem, please use the library, search for the libraries, because if there is a problem, we as Python developers have a common saying that says, hey, we have a library that will solve the problem for you right now, right? So make sure that you guys are doing that. Before you even get towards the libraries, however, my suggestion is that start with the very basics, right? Everything from who invented or who came up with Python, who created Python. Then you can get started with how Python is very different to the other programming languages if you had some previous experience, right? If you can work with more than one programming language at this moment of time, you can think of it saying, hey, I have done all of this in C or C++ in my childhood. I don't think I have to do this again. Let me skip. Please don't do that, because if you do skip, there is a good chance that sometime when you're trying to become an intermediate Python coder, or when you get into competitions, you will realize that even a very simple concept that you might have skipped there will be at the heart of the logic of a problem you might solve later. This has happened to many people I know, so please don't do that. Even if you know another programming language, do spend a couple of days or a couple of weeks to make sure you guys have cleared this, because you learn the fundamentals once in your life, and if you're using Python almost every day, you will never forget any of these, right? So ladies and gentlemen, step number one is understanding all the basics, working on the foundations, understanding why Python is different from the other programming languages. Because once your curiosity there is satisfied, saying, hey, this is the reason why Python is this different, the next thing that you can take a look at is actually picking up your favorite domain. This is an advantage that you will not find in many other programming languages. Of course, there's programming languages like JavaScript, which can be used both in front-end development, back-end development. It will fit very well for full stack, no matter what you think about it. It will work well for server-client architecture, correct? When you're thinking about Python, however, Python is used for where all have we discussed right now? It's used for game development, it's for UI UX development, it's used for web development. We're talking about data science. We are talking about we just spoke about a slide full of technologies where Python is used. So you find out what it is that you like to do, and once you look into that domain, you will understand how to learn Python. For example, if you want to learn Python for web development, right, here is where you will take a slightly different track to understand everything about web development and how Python is used for it. If you guys are really willing to become data scientists or data analysts or big data engineers, you will have another route that you guys will take, because here there is no point in you guys learning all the web development libraries, right? You want to work in data science, so what you will be learning is machine learning, artificial intelligence, all of those domains, right? So this advantage you do not get in other programming languages. But even though it sounds like you guys are super happy knowing this point, please pay attention that this is where you have to make up your mind and say, hey, I'm going to stick to this domain, and I'm going to concentrate on this domain, and I'm going to learn there, right? Because Python is used everywhere. If you work on understanding one domain, and if you completely thoroughly understand one domain, there is a very good chance you can look at some other code and say, oh, okay, so this is what the code is doing, right? You literally look at it and you will know what is going on. That's how simple Python becomes, considering that you have expertise over one domain. So please find your favorite domain and work on it. Can you guys head to the comment section and can you guys tell me where your favorite domain lies in, right? So what do you guys like to do? For example, my favorite domain is data science, neural networks, and artificial intelligence. So most of the time my learning towards Python has always been towards that, but then I've also explored Python in my free time as well, right? You don't have to do that, but it will help you to understand how different two domains are and how Python works really well there, right? Fantastic. We'll come to point number 3, or step number 3 here. Step number 1 was for you guys to learn about the language, understand its differences from other programming language, and get started with the absolute fundamentals. Step number 2, what was step number 2, ladies and gentlemen? Step number 2, ensure that you're concentrating on your own domain where you know that, right? For example, if you learn half of web development and learn half of data science, there is a very good chance that you might not be able to build a product or solve a problem. But if you are 100% data science oriented or even web development oriented, you can solve the problems in those domains, right? So to get to that, here is step number 3. Step number 3 is the step which will either make sure that you love working with programming languages, or you definitely want to move away from programming languages, right? Now, I remember way back in college, whenever the lecturers or the professors used to ask, saying, hey, how many of you all don't like programming? People used to lift hands, right? So why do you think people don't like programming? Why do you think people don't like something like mathematics, right? It's not because the domain is hard. It's not because math is hard or Python is hard. It's because you do not connect with how it is being taught to you. This is another concept which is very tricky like that. It's called data structures. It is, for some people, data structures are extremely simple. They will know the in and out of everything else. But for some other people, if you take a look at it, they'll be really struggling to answer data structure questions in an interview. And guys, you tell me, for you non-technical people and even technical people, if you have ever attended an interview, don't you think that at least 8 out of 10 times they have asked something about data structures? Especially if you're applying for a Python developer's role, I can guarantee that at least 7 or 8 out of 10 interviews will ask data structures, no matter what. It's a super important concept. It forms to be this kind of a pillar that you use to build your house around. If your pillar is not strong, your house will fall down, right? So there's so many data structures. There's built-in data structures. We have user-defined data structures, right? So for the built-in data structures, we have everything from int, float. We have so many other data structures like list, tuple, set, dictionary. You can think about it. But then when you're thinking about the user-defined data structures that we have in Python, everything from stack, queue, linked list, think about graph, think about trees, think about forests. There's so many data structures around, right? I'm not telling you guys that, hey, in step number 3, I want all of you all to become experts in this. No, but understand how each data structure works. And while you guys are learning this, don't just think about why it is important to learn, but also think about where all you think this data structure is used, right? If you can already predict where the data structure is used while you are learning the data structure, trust me, that is a super important ability that's going to take you a long way in your career as a Python developer. It's a really important thing that you guys have to know, right? And then coming to step number 4. Step number 4 talks about how you guys should go on to learn new things, right? Venture out into other domains, because as of now, if you have made it to step number 4, let's just say in real time of your learning, you guys definitely would have picked up one of your favorite domains. You would have started working on it. You would have understood about the domain, why it is popular, why it is being used everywhere, and you would have learned 1 or 2 small examples or a small use case or a mini project that you have done in Python there, so that you understand that domain, right? This is what I did, in fact, when I was learning Python over 10 years ago. So when I was learning Python then, it was so fantastic to me that I learned one domain. I was getting into data science. Back then we did not have a lot of libraries for data science. And in fact, data science wasn't even so popular back 10 years ago, right? If you take a look at 2010, 2011, it was starting that kind of a journey, right? It was starting that upgraph, but it wasn't there yet. Now, what you guys need to think about is in step number 4 is that venture out of your own comfort zone. Try to look at other domains. I'm not saying, hey, you're a data scientist, now go learn web development. No, what I'm trying to say is go talk to a web developer, see how he has learned Python, and try to see if you can use some of his concepts, whatever he has learned, the methodologies that he or she will think that will work for web development, and try to see if it fits for data science. Because when I did this, and of course I do it a lot of times whenever I'm trying to solve a problem, and having that kind of an insight where you're coming from a very different domain, but yet the insight that I got from these multiple other domains was so fantastic that my product was way better just because I talked to them and I got their inputs and I made sure to put it right. So always talk to other people who are in this domain, who are out of the other domain, but of course they have to use the same programming language to give you some tips, right? So make sure you guys are reaching out to other Python developers. Every one of the Python developers I have come across, or most of them, have definitely been very kind. They have been very helpful to help other guys get into the domain as well. So it's a very good community for all of you all to be a part of. So right now there should be a very good smile on your face, knowing that you will be welcomed very well by even the most experts in the Python world, right? This is one of the programming language worlds where you can ask any question. It will not be considered silly. You might have a very silly mistake, right? Please go ahead and ask all of these questions in the community or here, anywhere you want, because no one will ever say, hey, that's a silly question. No one will ever say that. They will make sure that, oh, okay, so let me help this person out, because even we were there learning at one point of time, right? That's important, right, guys? Now when we take a look at step number 5 is fantastic for all of you all, and it is super duper important here because we're talking about programming challenges. Now guys, I want all of you all to head to the comment section right now. Can you guys tell me, have you ever heard of competitive programming, or have you heard of sites like HackerRank? Have you heard of sites like Kaggle, where you have multiple programming challenges that you guys can take? Now while you guys answer that, let me answer some of your questions. Antara Anika says, I would like to learn more about data science, AI and ML. I am a prospective PhD student of bioinformatics actually. So I think I need to learn it before starting my studies. Right, Antara, that is a fantastic thing to know about you. I wish you all the best for your research on bioinformatics. It seems super interesting. But then yes, since it has a lot of AI, since it involves biomechanics, I definitely think you will have a very good time learning Python, right? Okay. Chaitra has a very good point. Chaitra says people's perception that programming is difficult is due to applying logic, DSA and math. Well, Chaitra, that's what I mentioned, right? If you think about all the steps that I've covered, I've spoken about why you should not make programming difficult in one of the steps. I spoke to you about logic, I spoke to you about data structures, and I also spoke to you about math. So all these difficulties, the reasons that might have come up, I just addressed all of them within point number 4 or 5, right? Okay. Adil Khan says, I regretfully look back why I didn't pursue programming before it's just an amazing field. Well, Adil, you are in a very good time to restart or get back onto the Python train right now, because see, we are all going through the COVID-19 pandemic, and Python jobs, data science jobs, or any other domain where Python is used, these developers are constantly hired. If you remember way back in March 2020, when a lot of people were getting laid off from their jobs due to COVID-19, go talk to Python developers and ask their view on the March 2020 incidents there, right? Because if you take a look at it, every company or every professional I spoke to, they said, hey, we are not firing any Python developers. Are we mad to do that? Because we need more and more people every single day. So why would they want to fire? That is the kind of the demand that we have. That is the kind of the industry that you guys will be going on to check, right? Fantastic. Let's get on to step number, we were discussing step number 5. So my point here with step number 5 was to tell you guys that there are so many competitive programming challenges websites where you guys can go to see if you know something or not, right? Unless you have taken a test, it is very difficult for human beings to assess themselves. This is a common fact, not just in programming. So my way of making things fun is to try something that I might not be able to solve. I'll pick up something which is more complex than I know, and I usually try to see if I can at least solve a bit of the problem. That's how I do it. Now, when some other people try to do it, it might be a wrong approach, because you might say that, hey, this is too complex, I cannot do it, I feel demotivated, right? This is where you bring your own approach to learning, but the goal is still the same. Use programming challenges. Start out from the most simple challenges, somewhere where a comma is missing, a bracket is missing, something like that. Start out very easy, but take this up to a point where every day you're learning something new, but then you're also challenging yourself, and you feel at the end of the day that, hey, I did take a test and I did get all these questions correctly and I feel really good. That is very important in step number 5, guys, because once you finish step number 5, and if you have followed all of these steps religiously that I've mentioned right now, at step number 6 you will be ready to not break your head about Python anymore. You'll be wondering about how to tackle interviews, what sort of Python questions are asked in these interviews, how do you go about learning such that you can provide, for example, multiple answers in interviews. Or you will even think about things such as, okay, so I have interview, this is the time I have to prep. You will look at your career in front of you, right? So whenever you usually go for a job interview, it's not recommended that you go without some preparation. You require preparation there, right? So you will start using your logic skills. You'll start hunting around, of course, with the internet. If you just type in Python interview questions, of course, we have a very good video here at Great Learning as well. So if you just take a look at it, you will understand, hey, these are the type of questions that I should be learning, right? Now, when we build out these interview questions and answers, we will make sure to do a ton of research. We'll be talking to experts, we'll be talking to people who are actually hiring for their companies for Python roles or whatever it is, and we bring this pack of questions which are super important, right? So you can use something like that to definitely up your game, learn again. So this is basically a circle. Step number 4, 5, 6 is like you doing it in a circle again and again. You pick up one concept, you learn something about it, you talk to an expert about it, and the next thing you can do is, hey, I learned this concept, now how can I try to see if I can use it to get a job or not, right? And you will try that, and if it fails the first time, don't worry, do it again. By the time you maybe do it 2 or 3 times, you will actually understand that there is a pattern of questions, there is a certain way of how you can go on to tackle all of these questions and eventually land your favorite job at your favorite company. So this step, ladies and gentlemen, is very important. But then to get to this, please make sure you guys are following steps 1 to 6, right? Because at the end of step 6 is when you guys will have a chance to have a fantastic career in Python, right? Now we're talking about Python. What is Python? Why you guys should learn Python? How you guys should learn Python and all of that. And since we have somewhere around 20 more minutes, I definitely want to guide you about this very important topic, which is the popular libraries that we have in Python here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you really have to think about the power of Python that I just mentioned, right? What gives Python this power that says, hey, I am the king of programming languages out there? Well, I definitely want to say this about Python. All the packages that Python has presented, I absolutely love them because most of them are free to use and it just solves your problems so much quicker. Now, let's just say that there were no NumPy and Pandas libraries, right? Even if you don't know what they mean, let me give you an example. If they weren't there, a 20 line code would definitely go on to become something like 80-85 lines piece of code, because these libraries, and you have to sit and manually implement the logic for the data structures on how to store data and all of that, right? Because NumPy and Pandas, as you might know it, are two fantastic libraries in Python which are used for numerical computation and statistical analysis. Because if you have ever heard of concepts of using matrices, multi-dimensional arrays and all of that, NumPy is what you'll be using. It's called numerical Python. The short form of numerical Python is itself NumPy. And then we have Pandas. Pandas gives you two very important data structures, ladies and gentlemen. One data structure is called as the series data structure. The other data structure is called as the data frame. Right now, have you guys heard of these data structures? Let me know in the comment section, right? Because this next slide, even though you might not be a programmer, even though you might not be into Python, or even though you have nothing to do with respect to data science, right? For example, NumPy and Pandas is a data science library. These are super popular for data science. And then the libraries that you see on your screen right now are another example of Python's advantage in data science, right? As I told you, even if you did not know any of these, out of these three that's put on your screen, I bet that you might have heard about one of these things, right? Either one of them. Because when we're talking about TensorFlow, PyTorch, both of these are fantastic libraries which are used for deep learning. These are used to achieve artificial intelligence. It's used to build neural networks. These are used to work with the concepts of deep learning, right? TensorFlow is from the developers at Google, while PyTorch is from the fantastic developers at Facebook. So they had their own programming language at Facebook called Torch, and then eventually they started using Torch framework and implement it in Python. That's why the name PyTorch. It stands for Python and Torch, right? And then this last library that you can see, it's called scikit-learn. Scikit-learn is the heart of machine learning in Python, is what I would definitely want to say, because scikit-learn library provides you with so many features. It provides you with so many different things about machine learning that's required, that I absolutely love scikit-learn. And I don't know, if there weren't scikit-learn, if there wasn't a library there, I definitely don't know how I would go about learning machine learning, right? So because it is a super complex domain, and scikit-learn simplifies it so much more. And then of course you're talking about matplotlib and seaborn. Matplotlib and seaborn are two libraries which are used for data visualization. Now when I say data visualization, you take a piece of textual data, convert it into beautiful looking graphs, beautiful looking dashboards, and eventually you use these dashboards to drive insights and drive results, right? So that is where this is also an important thing, that of course if you guys didn't know all of these packages at this moment of time, ladies and gentlemen, do not worry, it is actually okay. I just wanted to bring you the best of Python to ensure that you guys are very much excited to learn about Python, right? But understand that all those libraries that we just discussed, right, you can probably tell I personally am definitely in love with all those libraries, and for a very good reason, is that it really helps you a lot in Python, and these libraries are the reason why Python became number one, right? So it's really important to know. And then coming to a section where we're discussing about a Python developer's salary, I am sure you guys are very curious about understanding the average salary, right? First of all, Python developers get paid fantastic. You go anywhere around the world, and if you talk to a Python developer, they will actually be happy about using Python for their day-to-day activities. And of course, they'll also be happy that they are getting a pretty good salary, right? Because as an associate Python developer, as a very beginner into your first job, you will have an average salary somewhere around 5.6 to 6 lakhs per annum in India. And of course, it's somewhere around $60,000 to $70,000 in the USA. 1 or 2 years of experience, you become a senior Python developer. A senior Python developer gets somewhere around 10 lakhs per annum in India and around $100,000 in the US. This is absolutely fantastic. And then another 2-3 years down the line, maybe with 5 or 6 years of experience, you will become a project lead. You will become a lead developer in a way where you will be earning somewhere between 20 all the way to 35-40 lakhs per annum, right? So every number that you see on your screen right now is basically the middle number, the average between the lowest and the highest, right? If the lowest ever Python salary was somewhere around, let's just say 4 lakhs per annum, or the highest one was somewhere between, for a complete beginner, or for somewhere between 12-13 lakhs per annum, you find an average and you put that average, right? That is the average you see on your screen right now. I definitely know a lot of people who have graduated. I'm an alumni member from my college, and when you're talking to other people, on multiple sites, even social media friends as well, you will realize that even as a complete beginner, it doesn't mean that you always have to find a job that will give you 6 lakhs per annum. If you're very good with Python, and if you are skilled at what you do, you can go on to ask any number of your choice and people will provide it to you. Because right now the entire world is working from home. We're all working remotely, right? In fact, this is me sitting at my home right now, making sure that all of you all sitting at your homes, hopefully safe, trying to give you this wonderful insight about Python, right? So understand this, even as a complete beginner, you definitely can get a 12 lakh per annum job, and which is what, credit about somewhere around 95,000 Indian rupees a month. That is a fantastic salary for a complete beginner, right? This is possible. Look around the job sites for you. If there is a job which asks for 0 to 2 years of experience, you will see that they will either say the salaries are extremely competitive, or they will have a number which will probably start from 5 and go all the way to 10 and 12 lakhs per annum, right? So this is something which is very important for all of you all to know, right? Now, let me take up a couple of questions for all of you all. In fact, let me leave it on the previous slide if we have some people joining in now and they want to understand about the salary there, right? Now, let me take a look at your comments and let me see if I can answer them, right? Rahul K says, "Sir, how will we get certificate after seeing this live video, sir?" Well, Rahul, that's a fantastic question. I suggest you head to Great Learning Academy after this particular video, Rahul, and make sure you get yourself enrolled into the Python programs or into the Python courses that we have on Great Learning Academy. All of them are free. You can get started there, and you definitely, once you start finishing your courses on Great Learning Academy, you can have access to any number of certificates of completion that you want, right? Okay. Dhriti Jyoti Raut says, is there any coding in this particular session? Well, Dhriti Jyoti, I'm sorry if I've spelled your name wrong. I definitely wanted to showcase some programming for all of you all, but then since this is a complete beginner Python video, for the people who are tuning in who have never used Python, it can get a little complex for them, right? That's the reason, we're keeping it simple. Of course, the next couple of sessions, we definitely are going to take a look at a good amount of theory and, of course, a fantastic amount of practicals, right? Bobby Beats says, is game development good for Python? Well, Bobby, it is actually very good. In fact, I have built one or two games of my own using this fantastic library called as Pygame, Pygame, Pygame. It has many different applications there as well. Saurabh says, Jupyter Notebook is used in which sector? Well, Saurabh, Jupyter Notebooks are used everywhere, and it's a very good question that you asked, guys. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Great Learning YouTube channel, and of course, you guys are checking out Great Learning Academy, because I have created a 1.5 or a 2 hour, somewhere around 1.5 hours guide, which completely talks about notebooks, which completely talks about Jupyter Notebooks, where you guys can go from absolutely never knowing what Jupyter Notebook is all the way to becoming an expert and using it every time you code, right? It is coming soon on the channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed to get a chance for that, right? All right. Aditya Chandra says, does a degree is required to get a job in Python? I am 12th pass and 27 years old. Well, Aditya, there is no age restriction or there is no educational requirement that says you have to finish all of this to become a Python developer. I highly suggest you head to Great Learning Academy and check out all the courses that we have in terms of Python fundamentals. Get started with it, start learning the language. You will fall in love with the programming language, and in fact, you can get very competitive jobs with high paying salaries regardless of your education, regardless of your age or whatever it is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can read and write English to a good amount of extent, you can learn Python. That is how much confidence I have, right? Charun Raj says, is Python used in business analytics? Well, Charun, to be very honest with you, Python seems to be the heart of data analysis, right? If you're talking about exploratory data analysis, or EDA as it's called, there's two programming languages which will always come head to head in a fight. It's Python, and there's another programming language which is very good for data analysis. It's called R programming language, right? Satya Reddy says, free sessions are available in Great Learning. Well, yes, Satya Reddy, free sessions are available. In fact, you're watching a live session again, this is completely free, right? Well, make sure you guys go ahead to the Great Learning Academy page where you guys have access to more learning material. Now, that's a very good question, because that is exactly what I wanted to talk about here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, all of you all will have a question saying, okay, fantastic, Anirudh, we've learned so much about Python probably in the last 45 minutes. Now, where do we go ahead and continue our learning? My first advice to all of you all that you guys are very serious to learn Python is that as soon as you go to Google and type learn Python, you will be given millions and millions of search results, right? It is very easy to get confused if you do not have a direction. I am not just saying use only our content to learn, right? It's a free world. You have the entire internet for access. You can use any learning material you want to learn. But the advantage that you get if you go ahead with the Great Learning's ecosystem, or how we develop the courses, is that we ensure that there is always a good amount of structure and navigation that you guys can have while learning these concepts, right? Because if it is not thought in a way like that, I will tell you this: have you ever been on a trek, or have you been in the middle of a forest or something like that, where you think that you're lost? Or even if you're gone into a brand new city and you're driving and you don't know what roads go where, you're lost, right? It becomes very difficult to go to your destination and do whatever it is that you want to do. Similarly, here it happens in learning a programming language as well. So having a structured path is going to make a huge difference from you guys being good developers or being great developers. That is what I wanted to tell, right? And whenever we have these kinds of live sessions, or whenever we're putting out these content for you, make sure you guys are tuning in, make sure you guys are checking out the content that we're providing, right? Because at the end of the day, talking to experts like me, I am a subject matter expert in Python, data science, AI, neural networks, and all these concepts that I just mentioned. So you talking to us will ensure that we will not only teach you all these concepts, right? I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about all the subject matter experts here at Great Learning. We at the end of the day will ensure that you have the access to the highest quality learning materials. The second thing is that we'll also have industry knowledge, where we know what it is that's exactly needed in your first job. We'll know exactly what it is that you need to learn to get into an industry, get into a domain, right? So when we bring you high quality learning content, and we bring you this kind of a way where your learning exactly fits with what you have to do to learn or get a job or something like that, this is the best of both worlds, which you don't find in a lot of places, right? So this is the reason we keep pushing you guys to subscribe to the Great Learning YouTube channel. Now when you take a look at the free content that we have, here is another advantage, right? With the Great Learning YouTube channel, if you hit subscribe, you definitely will have access to all the learning material that we have provided. And of course, at the end of the day, it's not just that. As soon as we go live in these sessions, or we have multiple different sessions, as you guys have observed, in multiple different domains, you can tune into your favorite domain, learn that completely, talk to the instructor, ask your questions, get your doubts cleared, and eventually move on, right? So that's one place. And of course, we have Great Learning Academy. Great Learning Academy is a fantastic place for all of you all to check out. You have access to 300 plus free courses, where you can sign up for free, complete your courses for free, and get your certificate of completion absolutely free of cost as well, right? And we have Great Learning blogs for all the people who love to read blogs as well. Now, all the free content, if I have to talk about in the general sense, will definitely get you started, right? It's the most important thing. It'll definitely get you through the fundamentals. It'll definitely help you to get to a certain intermediate level. But if you guys are planning on becoming thorough experts in Python, I would highly suggest you spend some time and effort looking at specializations in Python, right? But then when we talk about a specialization, or when we're talking about maybe you guys having a certificate program or a post-graduation program, you have to understand that Python is very, very domain specific, right? So find out what domain it is that you want to learn, and you can go ahead and learn that. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just give you one example. This will work really well for all of you all who are very much interested into data science. And of course, we have multiple other programs as well. We really can talk about any of these domains where data science is used, or let's just say Python is used, to give you a quick thought about Python and its most favorite domain, which is data science. In fact, we have multiple courses across all of these domains, and here is one such program, the postgraduate program in data science and business analytics, right? This is considered to be India's #1 data science program. It's done in collaboration with Texas MECOM's School of Business, which is basically a part of University of Texas at Austin. You get a certificate from University of Texas at Austin like this. It says that, hey, we attest that this person has successfully completed the Texas Executive Education Program, right? The post-graduation program in data science and business analytics. Similarly, you will see a lot of details about the curriculum, right? Again, since it's data science, it's not just Python, but there is a lot of stuff about Python. But the most important thing that you guys should see here is that we have quizzes and projects everywhere, right? So whenever you're learning a domain, it is super important that you have theory and you guys also use practicals to learn there, right? Because at the end, you will have a capstone project where you will be working on a real-time project under a mentor or a person, an industry expert guidance, where you will be solving problems and putting that. Again, having that on your resume is also a fantastic thing. But then think about a certification from University of Texas, right? It will ensure that you will get miles ahead of your competition. All multiple programming languages are used: Python, R, Tableau, SAS, SQL, and of course, if we just keep talking about data science, I'm sure all of you all who might be looking at other domains can get a little confused as well. So I'll leave you to explore this particular page. For all the people who want to definitely check out data science, I suggest you guys take a look at this. This is an 11-month program that is completely online, where you guys can learn on it. You have 17 real world projects, and you have access to a ton of benefits and a ton of perks here, because you can find out everything about the career support that we have, career transitions, exclusive recruitment drive, access to curated jobs, interview preparation, career mentorship, and a lot more, right? So you can find all of these details on this particular page. There is an application process for all of you all to follow. I'm sure the person managing the chat section will give you a link to this particular course, so that you can go on to scroll, in fact, till the end of the page, and you can just put in your details there, and at the end of the day, if you just put in your name, email address, and all of the details, we will ladies and gentlemen, make sure that in fact, you can just click on this chat box here. You can have a chat with our program manager. You can ask them in a live chat. You can share your mobile number and details. They will give you a call, and you can ask for career advice, absolutely free again. You can ask about which program is right for you. You can talk about your career goals and tell them that this is what you would want to do, and you can ask them which program will definitely help you get there, and a ton of other things here as well, right? So guys, this is a very important thing for all of you all to understand. Now let me pick up one or two questions, and we can go on to wind up the session, right? Okay. Rohan Kame says, from when you are going to teach us Python? Well, Rohan, I have already put out multiple videos on the channel regarding Python, and if you take a look at the Great Learning YouTube channel, I hope you're subscribed. Just go to the search box, just type in Python tutorial. You will find hours and hours of Python content that you guys can use to learn, right? Fantastic. Prakhar Rai says, how should I approach after I have learned supervised learning portion of machine learning? I want to learn unsupervised learning and deep learning as well. Well, Prakhar, that's a very good question. After you've mastered supervised learning, it's a very good thing to understand unsupervised learning. But instead of directly jumping to deep learning, I would highly suggest you understand and work on reinforcement learning first, right? Okay. Bichus has a question. He or she, I'm sorry, I don't know, says, your name is Anirudh. Well, yes, my name is Anirudh Rao. Programming language says, sir, how can I be better in Python? Well, that's a very good question, right? Please make sure the live session is going to stay on the video is going to stay on the channel for all of you guys who might have joined in the middle of the session, or who have joined right now and you want to watch the entire thing, right? So make sure you guys run through the entire thing once, and you definitely can have a lot more insights, right? Arvind has a question. Arvind says, Python versus R, which one is best? Well, Arvind, that's a very difficult question to ask, because on a similar note, if I say, hey, I have apples and oranges, which is the best, right? It's very difficult to answer that, because some people really love apples, some people really love oranges. So depending on what it is that you want to use Python or R for, take a look at it from the domain perspective. There you will understand the advantages and disadvantages of Python and R, right? Incredible Nature says, hi, I'm Harshita. How can I resolve errors in between? Well, Harshita, resolving errors and working on how you guys are debugging a program and solving it quicker really works well. Again, with one of these skills that I just mentioned, have an out-of-the-box thinking, right? Sometimes the most silliest solution will be the most efficient one there. This doesn't happen in all the cases, of course, but sometimes that. So make sure you're concentrating on that. Alright guys, let me pick up one last question and we can go on to end this particular session, right? Alright. Guys, please don't spam the comment section. Bobby Beats, please do not spam the comment section. It would mean a lot if you just ask it once and we would answer it for you, right? All right, guys. So on that note, thank you so much for tuning into this particular session. With this, I hope you guys are very, very, very much closer than you guys were when you started out, right? So Python is an absolutely fantastic programming languages that all of you all can learn. So for all the people that we had, somewhere around 300, 400 people who tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that this 1 hour session on Python helps you get started with the programming language really quick and work on it, right? To add on to it, again, we have multiple courses and so much content on Great Learning Academy and here at the Great Learning YouTube channel as well that you guys can use to work on your Python, and you can just take this as step number 1 and you can go on to become experts in Python there, right? All right, fantastic guys. The COVID-19 pandemic is still going on. Please make sure you guys are wearing your masks, sanitizers. Of course, if you're eligible for vaccines, please do go get them. On that note, stay safe. All of us are working from home or we are learning from home. This is the right time, especially for a domain such as Python, or in fact if you guys are looking towards web development and even data science. We are waiting for the pandemic to end, and the pandemic doesn't even look like it might end, but at the end of the day, when you take a look at all these job charts, all these job analytics, all these reports that are out there, the trend for Python has always been a steep curve regardless of COVID-19 or not, right? So it is the language is so fundamentally strong that there is a very good chance, even if there is a recession, it might not be able to go on to hurt Python developers more, right? Okay, fantastic. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Again, as I mentioned, this was a very good, high energetic, and of course highly interactive session. So thank you so much for putting all of your comments, all of your query. Do take a second to like the video, and of course, if you love seeing more content such as this, do take a second to subscribe to the Great Learning YouTube channel as well, right? Fantastic, guys. My name is Anirudh Rao. Thank you so much. I'm more than excited to see you guys on the next one. Cheers.